What's up, YouTube? Welcome to another Counting Wisdom YouTube video. I wanted to give some points about why I believe there is a pre-tribulational rapture, and I believe that for sure that the church is rescued from the trial that is at hand because Revelation says so. And I think that sometimes when we are reading the Bible, we expect a huge passage that explains all the details about how there is a rapture. But sometimes with the Bible, there's only one or two verses that explain in prophecy a big concept. And it's really important to put weight on what those things have to say. And so I'm going to pull up right now Revelation. I believe it's Revelation chapter 3 verse 10. And I think this verse really concludes in my mind that there is a rapture. It says, because you have obeyed my command to persevere, I will protect you from the great time of testing that will come upon the whole world to test those who belong to this world. And that's verse 10. And he puts it in perspective, and he says in verse 11, I am coming soon. So first he tells us that he's going to protect the church. This is a message to the church. And when you read scripture, it's not just a scripture to a specific person, but it's a message to everyone. And scripture still applies, even though the church may not always recognize every scripture right now. Sometimes churches, we don't recognize all the details of scripture. We kind of go past it sometimes. But all of scripture is for us, but everything in the New Testament still applies to us today. We don't really have the authority to make something new. And so we are still in the new covenant, and all the new covenant terms and conditions apply to us. But anyway, he goes on to say, I am coming soon. Hold on to what you have so that no one will take away your crown. All who are victorious will become pillars in the temple of my God, and they will never have to leave it. So again, I believe that this is telling us that the hour of trial is when Babylon falls. Babylon falls in a single hour. Remember in Revelation, it said in the later parts of Revelation, that was Revelation chapter 3, and you can look this up, but you might know this already, but it says that Babylon falls in a single hour. And so the hour of trial is the fall of Babylon, and also the fall of lawlessness, and the fall of just the spirit of lawlessness, and the lawless one falls as well eventually. But I want to also say that in John 14, let's see, I'm looking for it now. So, excuse me, John 14 tells us how Jesus is going to come back and take us to be with him in heaven. Well, if you think about that, there's no real place where we go to heaven except, the millennial kingdom. That's not heaven. That's Jesus establishing his reign on earth. And so when Jesus says that he's going to take us to be with him in heaven, we have to realize that Well, when is that going to be? Because if it's at Revelation 20 and 21, you know, then Jesus is already bringing his millennial kingdom. But if it is before the millennial kingdom, you know, there's not really a place in Revelation where it specifically says that we're going to be taken up. And so we have to realize that in Revelation 3 it says that he is going to keep us from the hour of trial, and then he says he's coming soon. So, and he also, it seems like he doesn't want to give too many details about it. And that's the other thing, is I think that it's supposed to be somewhat of a mystery. But remember that God said he does nothing without revealing it to his servants, the prophets. Remember that. So God said he does nothing until he reveals it. And so we have to remember that, okay, if that's the case, and we believe that's true, you know, there's not going to be an exception to that. And so he told Jesus, who's considered a prophet, and then and you could consider John a prophet too. And so you have to realize that it's somewhere in Scripture. It's already in Scripture. And so I wanted to read John 14:1. It says, "Don't let your hearts be troubled. Trust in God, trust also in me." John 14:2. "There is more than enough room in my Father's home. If there were not so, would I have told you that I'm going to prepare a place for you? When everything is ready, I will come and get you, so that you will also be where I am, and you know the way to where I'm going." So clearly Jesus is saying that he's going to take us to heaven. And it sounds like it's a separate event from the millennial kingdom, which is in, I believe, Revelation 20 through 21, where Satan is bound for 1,000 years. Jesus is reigning on earth by that time. So I don't think he's talking about he's going to take us to be with him in the millennial kingdom. It sounds like he's going to take us to be with him at some other point in before all of that happens in Revelation 6 through 19. So I believe that Jesus is going to rescue us from Revelation 6 through 19. So I wanted to share that with you and give you hope that, remember that we're not appointed to wrath. And so God is going to rescue us from the hour of trial. So God bless you. See ya.